guys, welcome to my MediBang paint tutorial. If you haven't already, you'll need to download the program from the MediBang website and get the version for your operating system. I'll be using the Mac desktop version for this tutorial, and you can find the link to the website in the description. You'll also need a drawing tablet. I'm using a Wacom Bamboo CTL 470 from 2011. Newer Wacom models start at around $80, but you can find other brands for as little as $20 to $30. Your tablet doesn't have to be super good or expensive as long as it works for you. Now, on to the tutorial. So when you first open MediBang, there's this little pop-up window with an ad in it. Just click OK or X out of it and you'll be greeted by this home screen pop-up menu thingy. I did make a free account just to check out all the features, but I don't think it's mandatory. You see all those buttons on the left-hand side of the pop-up menu? For this little crash course, we're going to select Illustrate. Here we have our canvas options: width, height, some size presets, resolution, background color, and some options I don't really use. You can also see my canvas size history, but I don't really get much use out of that. Even though the standard options are 350 and 600 dpi in MediBang, I'm just going to set the resolution to 72 dpi for this piece. 72 dpi is, or at least used to be, a pretty standard display resolution, and I don't really care about making this particularly good. Now we have our canvas. Over here is the navigator. One of the things I like most about this program is that you can rotate and flip your canvas using the arrow keys on your keyboard. Under the navigator you have your layers, and under your layers you have a reference window. The reference window is incredibly useful, but we'll get back to that later. Over here we have our color bar, the palette where you can store the colors you use regularly, brush preview, brush settings, and brushes. There are a lot of brushes, and I don't usually use most of them. Now I'm just going to take my pencil and block in the shape of a person. Then I'll switch to the pen tool in a darker color. An important thing to note is the difference between the pen and the pen sharp tool. Pen just draws. Pen sharp tapers the ends after you finish drawing, no matter how long you keep drawing. I'm pretty sure it's useful for something, but I usually just use pen. There's also the G pen. It works like pen, but with a little bit more personality. You can ink with it, but I usually sketch with it. Now I'll make a new layer and ink over this with the G pen. Then we'll make our first layer invisible so we can see our lines. And now I'll go through some of the different brush options. I have a few custom ones that I'm not using here, but I'll go over those later. If you tweak the brush settings, you can get some cool effects. Rotation symmetry brushes are great for backgrounds and patterns, and if you hit Control on Windows or Command on Mac, you can set the center point and make a mandala pretty easily. You can also change the number of lines, but a corner pen is better if you want to make a border. Here are some more brushes, and up in the top left-hand corner are the guides. You can do diagonal lines, a grid, perspective, radiating lines, perfect circles, custom curves, and ellipses. I use the ellipse tool for speech bubbles. If you want to recolor a layer, click Protect Alpha and color over it. If you want your line art to be smoother, you can try using the stabilizer tool. I always try to sketch with my stabilizer on 0. Here, I'm using a mid-level setting and you can see how much it helps. Just for fun, here's the highest setting. See how it lags? It's really good if you have tricky curves or long lines, but the lag can annoy some people. Here I'm using the bucket tool with its reference set to layer. To avoid getting that weird incomplete fill look, I've set expand to at least 1. Whoa! I did not mean to leave my fill tool on 11. Better take that down a bit and try again. If you want to fill in your line art with color on a layer below it, set your reference to canvas so the fill tool knows to stop when it hits a closed off line. More on this later. We're about done for this part, so all we have left to cover is saving. MDP is MediBang's native file type. It saves your layers so you can come back and tweak them. PSD is Photoshop's native file type. It also saves your layers, but not certain settings like text, I think. On the bright side, almost any program can open PSD files. So, if you want to send all the layers to someone else, compatibility shouldn't be a problem with PSD files. If you're saving the image without layers, PNG and JPEG are probably what you'll be using. JPEG is a little lighter, but deteriorates each time someone modifies it. PNG is a little heavier and doesn't deteriorate as far as I know. I'm going to save this as a JPEG and then we'll move on to the heavier tutorial. Bye!